Hello, it's Tracy Dix here from Wyrd Learning, and today I'm on day 39 of my conversion card challenge using James Wedmore's powerful language patterns that convert. So today is a really interesting one. In fact, this is a start of quite a critical series of cards, like a mini series, so I'm really looking forward to discussing them. So, day 39, the power of the question. Being bold is great. But most times, what you have to say doesn't actually get received by a prospect. Most prospects are reading your copy with their arms crossed, thinking, yeah, right, I don't believe you. So how do you bypass this guardian of your reader's mind so your bold messages will be more easily received? Enter the power of the question. Take a statement like, hiring a copywriter to write your messaging is the worst mistake you could ever make, and turn it into a question. Have you ever considered why hiring a copywriter to do your messaging for you is such a big mistake? Formula. Turn a bold statement into a question. Have you ever considered, do you ever wonder why? Why is it that, blank? Did you realize that, blank? Have you found that, blank? Examples in action. A. Are you tracking these 3 essential metrics in your business? B. I'm sure you can agree that money shouldn't be the thing that stops you from getting the training and support that you need, right? So there are a couple of things I'd like to discuss in relation to this card. And the first is that in terms of the skepticism that most prospects might demonstrate in this card, the yeah, right, I don't believe you, it's worth thinking about your marker's attitude to your work when you're presenting your academic writing. So in this case, it would take the form of reasonable skepticism. So there are a few questions you can apply to help you think about this as you're preparing your work. The first is your argument evidence-based? What is the evidence for the claims that you're making? Have you evaluated it? How have you evaluated the material that you found? And finally, and very importantly, how is the evidence that you're citing relevant to your analysis? Have you engaged with the overall essay question in enough detail, and how have you interpreted it and made it your own, basically? And in a nutshell, I guess you could think about it as, do you really know what you're talking about? And I'd like to debunk this a little bit because I believe many students think that knowing what they're really talking about means citing an expert and quoting research, so it might be secondary sources. But actually, there's no harm in looking at the primary sources for yourself and seeing, what you make of those secondary interpretations. So in terms of this knowing, as I just said, do you really know what you're talking about with this argument? This comes from not just citing academics or subject experts, but from engaging with their research. And one tool that's really helpful that you can use to kind of develop your criticality is Socratic questioning. You just need to go online and Google Socratic questioning. I particularly like a resource called Changing Minds because it has a wide range of questions that you can apply to your assignments. However, it does take skill to know what kind of questions to ask. So it does take a little bit of practice, and I do advise working through these questions with a coach. And indeed, myself and Alex, these are the kinds of techniques we would use if a student came to us with an assignment and said, okay, so this is what I've written so far. Do you think this section is accurate? And a lot of the time, we would kind of turn that question back to the student and say, well, what do you think? How do you think this section is relevant to the rest of your assignment? What part in the kind of critical evaluation of a question do you think this sits within, and what function does it perform within the argument? Why is it important, basically? So the questions in the formula that James uses in this card are a really useful starting point. In fact, this is often how we would frame questions to students. Have you ever considered this issue, for example? Do you ever wonder why things are a certain way? And why is it that? And because we are not subject experts, that's also why these patterns of questioning come into it. So I would say, in terms of academic writing, while using questions like this, writing these questions out in the final draft of your essay is not a good style to follow, because it's kind of a bit of a rhetorical style. Rather than asking your academic, have you ever wondered about this? They'll be saying, well, no, you're supposed to tell me what you think. You're not supposed to be asking me what I think. So that's why you wouldn't write in this style in an academic essay. However, it is a good idea to apply these questions to the planning stages of your assignments. And if done well, you will find that this will greatly enhance your work, and provided you structure your assignment well and everything comes together, it could make a real difference in the quality of your criticality and help you achieve the first class grade that, many students are aiming for. So I hope this is really helpful to you, and do join me again tomorrow, day 40. We're nearly there. See ya.